Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign of Reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. And as we know, there had been a relatively calm ceasefire that had been in effect for the past several months. Between the forces of the Tigrayan Defense Forces and the regime of Abiy Ahmed, based in the capital, Addis Ababa, also known as Fenfene. Now, obviously, it would appear that the ceasefire has unraveled, and it looks like renewed fighting has started. Right now, there appears to be very heavy fighting south of Alamata and to the north and northwest and northeast of Kobo. So if we look at our map here, and you go and you transition from the Amhara region here, and then you enter the Tigray region near Alamata, you can see it is relatively flat. So this type of terrain would be very beneficial for the larger mechanized formations and motorized formations of the Abiy loyalist forces. They possess more tanks, more armored fighting vehicles and mechanization, whereas the Tigrayan Defense Forces, on the other hand, are more or less a light infantry force. And with that being said, it is probably one of the best light infantry forces on the entire planet in terms of its ability to rapidly circumvent mountainous terrain features and move very, very quickly on foot. So, if in fact we are now seeing a new series of fighting, and at this point it doesn't really matter, I would say, who ended the ceasefire was eventually going to end. The status quo in terms of the ongoing siege strategy taking place against the Tigray region was just something that the Tigray region could not continue with, and in all probability we would have seen some sort of action by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in regards to some sort of a political situation not occurring. But right now, it would seem that in all likelihood, given the flatness of the terrain near Alamata, and probably the TDF not wanting to lose Alamata, we will probably see an advance by the TDF south, with the concept of seizing control of areas to the north and northeast and northwest of Kobo. If you kind of look at the map here, and I'll kind of modify it a little bit where you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. And as we move up from Kobo towards the Tigray region, again, you can see it's very flat. You have main highway running north to south. This would be used by the Abiy loyalist forces if it had decided to launch an all-out offensive against Tigray. Obviously, this would be one of the main routes that it would enter the Tigray region. And to counter this, the Tigrayan Defense Forces, in all likelihood, would be looking to quickly move south and seize key terrain features such as this that would overlook said highway, and use this as a defensive positioning in preparation for defending the Tigray region from an attack by the Abiy loyalist forces. And again, you can see here it gets very, very mountainous once you kind of cross the Tigray border and both to the east and to the west of Kobo. And as we know before, Kobo was seized by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. If you continue on south of Kobo, you have more terrain features. You have a river here to the south with a bridge here, and that's pretty much it. So it's going to be in the TDF's best interest to quickly move south, seize control of Kobo, seize control of key terrain features both to the west and to the east of Kobo, and at the same time seize control of these key terrain features such as rivers, bridge crossings, and what have you, to prevent the possible ability of the ENDF or B loyalist forces to move north. Now, some reports indicated that are coming out of the Tigray region believe that diversionary operation initiated by the Abiy loyalist forces towards southern Tigray with a real goal of launching some sort of another offensive in the west in the direction of western Tigray moving east. But again, based on what occurred over the last year and a half, the defeat of Abiy loyalist forces in the Tigray region and the eventual counteroffensive by the TDF deep into the Amhara region, I just don't see how at this point we would see a successful operation by Abiy loyalist forces unless he is simply using human wave attacks and really unprepared forces to possibly try and re-invade the Tigray region. But ultimately, the same outcome would probably happen given what happened on the ground prior. And again, as I talked about before, the ENDF or the Abiy loyalist forces are simply not in the same state of affairs as they were back in November of 2020 when they invaded the Tigray region with the support of the Eritrean army. The Tigrayan Defense Forces, the Tigray region, are fully mobilized now, and I just don't see a successful outcome for Abiy loyalist forces if they are trying, in fact, to re-invade the Tigray region. On the other hand, in terms of the prospects of a renewed offensive by the TDF south, ideally they would move south again with the idea, the strategy of seizing Kobo, east of Kobo, and west of Kobo. They don't want to give the ENDF, Abiy loyalist forces, the ability to move up and seize control of Alamata on this very, very flat terrain that is more ideal for those mechanized forces. But again, we're in the very, very early stages of what is happening. What I just discussed is hypothetical. It is not, right now, it is not reality in terms of what is actively happening on the ground. It could be what is happening on the ground, but ultimately we won't know that until we see what happens over the course of the next several days, if in fact we have seen the complete end to the ceasefire and we now have open hostilities taking place. But we are watching this very, very closely. We are trying to ascertain and get more information on what is happening on the ground, and as soon as we have that, we will conduct more reports. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day.